Good morning, folks. Pablo, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you. Awesome. Wonderful. Well, welcome and thanks for joining us. That it takes me a couple seconds to kind of set all the
Sure.
stuff on. We have to do this on YouTube and some of the other stuff and get the participants muted. For you guys watching on YouTube, this should be a very interesting interview. If you want to see the whole thing in its entirety now, just come on over to MeterX, sign up for a free month, and you can join us directly. Otherwise, this will come out in a few weeks on our podcast. Anyway, Pablo, you and I had a couple little conversations back and forth on social media. You obviously have a very interesting experience that I think most people would be very interested to sort of hear about. And so, once again, thanks for being here. Just out of curiosity, where are you located?
United Kingdom.
You're in the UK. Okay. And so we have someone with a kind of a similar story by the name of Andrew Scarborough, who we talked to several
Yeah,
months
yeah,
ago.
I'm in contact with him
Yeah,
quite a lot.
I figured you guys know each other. But anyway, well, without me, I guess, spoiling the punchline, I guess, if you want to say, go ahead and give us a little story. Give us your story if you don't mind. A little bit of background and a little bit about your own personal background, what happened,
Yeah,
where you're at now, and what's going on.
sure, yeah. Well, prior to meeting my partner, who we're having our second baby soon, like less than 2 weeks, I was I was addicted to smoking, cannabis, eating fast food, whatever, just being lazy generally. But I managed to, at some point, I just got depressed and I decided to sort my life out, basically. Start to love myself, respect my body a bit more, thought more about what I wanted from the future. And then unfortunately, I met my partner. So we started doing things. We thought organic food was the way to go, vegetables, all that stuff. So about a year and a half into our relationship, I started to get headaches like constantly. I was working in a garden center. And then at one point, I had a sensation where just like my neck clicked and I started to feel the sensation that I was spinning around. So I got vertigo. And then basically, I had migraines and I went to my doctor and I said, what could this be? And he said, it's migraine auras. So I kind of just put it off as headaches and I just took paracetamol and carried on with my work. And then the same situation, I was working, I was kind of walking somewhere. I had to run to get out of the way of traffic. And then I had the neck click, but this time I thought I had a stroke. So my left side drooped, my arm went limp, my jaw sagged, which are all signs of a stroke. And I was like, I'm only 20, 22, 23 years old, and I'm having a stroke. And so I went to my doctor and I said, I want to request a CT scan because everything I look up on the internet is saying is probably something wrong with your brain. So I went for the CT scan and still, obviously, anyone who does know me, I'm diagnosed with a brain tumor. At that point in time, they only saw a little hazy patch and they said, oh, no, you're fine. It's just migraine auras. So I went home. And then actually 2 weeks after that, they called me up and said, you need to come in for an MRI with contrast because we think there might be some sort of mass in your head, in your brain. So I had the MRI with contrast. And they said, we're going to have to do a biopsy because there's definitely something in your brain. Could be a tumor, could be something else. So I had the biopsy, and then I was diagnosed in September 2014 with a glioblastoma multiforme, grade 4, highest grade tumor, incurable. And I went through the motions. They said, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, that's the course of action. There's no other treatment options, basically, which I believed at the time. And I went home, and then they arranged all the stuff. I thought I was going for a meeting with my oncologist one day. I think it was maybe November 2014. It turns out that I was actually there to have the radiotherapy mask fitted to my face. So I went in for that, but I had a full man beard and they said, you're supposed to be clean shaved. And I was like, I didn't know I was supposed to be here today. So they got some scissors and they hacked my beard off. I felt pretty uncomfortable already. And then I had the mask fitted to my face, molded to my face. I went into to lie down on the table, fixed to the table. They lasered me up. And I just felt really, the pang of fear in your guts, like when something's wrong and that you shouldn't do what you're doing. I felt that and I said, I need to call my oncologist because I'm not sure I want to do this. So I spoke to her and I asked some very pertinent questions. I said, is this going to help me? Is this going to give me a long life? I want longevity. I want to live a very long time. I don't want to just die feeling sick. Because my experience of chemo is that my granddad, he had liver cancer, and I saw him on his deathbed, and he was frail. He was like skin and bones, and he didn't even recognize my mum. And that was like the saddest moment, just witnessing that. And I was just in the back of my brain going, you know, if I have chemotherapy, it's going to kill me. So I said, you know, what do I need to do? What do you think about the ketogenic diet? She said that I don't think it's that effective. There's no study suggesting it's going to work for you. And she said with chemotherapy and radiotherapy, your life expectancy is 12 to 15 months. And that's kind of the estimated, you know, the maximum survival for most people with GM. And I said, well, what about without? And she said, because you're fairly healthy, 6 to 9 months without. And she said, you might become impotent with chemotherapy. You might lose your hair, all these side effects. And I was like, well, you know, my background was homeopathy and vegetarian food and just spirituality and just kind of awareness and stuff. So I just said, I think I'm going to take my chances with a ketogenic diet. I just said that. I didn't confer with any of my family. I just said, right, this is my instinct kicking in. I've got to do something for myself. I've got to live. So I went to the ketogenic diet. I spoke to someone called Patricia Daly. Don't know, you might have heard of her. She's a ketogenic diet advocate. She had some form of a kind of mass behind her eyeball. So she said, try a restricted calorie ketogenic diet. So I was on 2,000 calories a day, restricting my calories, less than 20 grams of carbs a day for about 3 years. And I spoke to Thomas Seyfried, and he said, you want to hit that 1-to-1 ratio of ketones to glucose. So pretty much within the first week, I just went cold turkey on everything refined, crap sugar and everything else. I just went, nope, none of that. I was pretty much fasting for the first 3 days because I didn't have any money to buy food. So I just thought I just won't eat. And I got into ketosis within the first week. I was seeing that 1-to-1 ratio. I was like smashing it. I've taken notes on it for the last 5 years on and off. I did the ketogenic diet. I think it was about within the first 4 months, I got a stable scan result. So this was no treatment, nothing. It was an inoperable brain tumor, so they couldn't perform an operation. And I did that for, I think it was 3 years before suddenly like the tumor actually changed in some way or shape. And they said, we can operate on your inoperable tumor. I was like, great. So my ketogenic diet, taking supplements, has actually given me a longer life. And it's made an inoperable tumor operable, which is like a miracle. So I went for an awake craniotomy, which was a 7-hour operation, the weirdest experience of my life, most likely, because they put you to sleep and then you wake up pinned to a table by a brace. And that was a 7-hour operation, but they removed 80%. Professor Thomas Seyfried suggested going into the operation in ketosis. He said, tell them you don't want the full dose of steroids because it's only going to hurt you in the long run because you want to be in ketosis. You don't want to have to fatten up and all these things. You want to be fasting. So I was in the recovery room. I managed to stand up on the first day post-operation. I said, I'm going to just try it. I need to do it. So I got up and I didn't do too much, but I was like, I've got to get out of here as soon as I can. They offered me the usual food, which was, porridge for breakfast, toast, etc., all the carb-loaded crap that you can imagine. And I said, no, I can't eat that. So I requested boiled eggs from the cafe, and I said, Becky, my partner, I said, Becky, can you get some butter and we'll just mash it up with the eggs? So I'm getting lots of fat, lots of protein, enough healing goods, and that's all I ate for 7 days, and I was out of hospital. This entire time I've been using the ketogenic diet to try and control my epilepsy because it was shown to be effective for children. But for me, it's not actually, it's probably doing me a lot of good. I still have grand mal seizures and I still have focal seizures almost daily, which is quite a problem. And it kind of it keeps me disabled in a sense. I can't run. I can't do exercise as much as I would like to. So I try and push my boundaries every day. But I had a year after this operation. I had the rest dissolved, so there was like 10% left, and it dissolved. And I had a year where they said there's no visible sign of your tumor, which was really nice. But I found that I started to try and eat more food. I thought, it won't bother, it's not going to hurt me. I was still ketogenic. I was just incorporating berries, but I was having too many calories. So I actually put on 2 stone in weight. I was the heaviest I've ever been in my life. I was 13.5 stone. And everyone said to me, "You're looking really healthy," but I knew I was feeling fat in my body. I was putting out too much fat. And then I think it was, I went to the Children with Cancer conference in London in September 2018, where I did a speech just to kind of like inspire hope. And I found out in October following that I had a recurrence, which was quite savage. But fortunately, I met someone at that conference. He was like, if you have a reoccurrence, give me a call. His name is Misha Sakharov, and he's a really nice guy. And he helps patients with brain tumors to go carnivore. He basically said, you just quit the ketogenic diet, go carnivore, 0 carbs, moderate fat, protein. We do intermittent fasting as well. And we practice Buteyko. And as soon as I started with him, my tumor came back stable after 4 months. And since then, it's been nearly 3 years. I've had stable scan results since, just by being 0 carbs. So like I've maximized my longevity by just cutting out carbohydrates and eating really good quality organic meat. And here I am today, just getting on with life.
Well, I was going to say, thank goodness for that. That is truly incredible. I mean, if we look at the typical outcome for somebody with GBM, glioblastoma multiforme, it's not years out and, being where you are today. And, it's kind of interesting that, one, despite eating, a healthy organic, diet years previously, you developed this brain tumor. And then it's interesting to see that the ketogenic diet seemed to help it. And then, by including some more carbohydrates and fruit back in the diet, it seemed to recur. And you put on, 2 stone for people who don't speak English or speak UK English is 28 pounds, 14 pounds to a stone. And so that's quite a bit of weight gain. I don't know how much you weighed or how thin you might.
I was always about 10 stone. Like
140 pounds. So yeah. So
but now I'm actually 11 stone, 2.5. So I'm like literally just staying the same weight. I haven't changed weight in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and then so going to a meat-based version with no carbs would seem to slow things back down again and help with the body composition and so on and so forth. What since this is happened, I mean, surely the neurosurgeon, the oncologist have they had commentary on this? They're saying, "Wow, this is unusual."
You're very lucky. Is all they say. You're very lucky. I'm just
not
lucky.
curious as to why it's luck. Are they just going to? Yeah, that's all. That's very scientific. That's just luck. It's like we get our health care from a Las Vegas casino. I mean, come on. What aren't they a little at least bit? Kind of saying, hey, what's going on?
They do not care one iota. They just think I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky few who somehow survived. I'm like, no, I put all the work in. This is me making myself live longer.
The sick in me doesn't disbelieve it, but it's incredulous that you're like, what do these people that live longer have in common? If it were a drug, we would be investigating the hell out of that. Oh my gosh, we got to put, but if it's a diet and lifestyle thing, we're like, well, you're just lucky. Are you lucky when you get a response from a drug? I mean, I don't know. I mean, That to me is, I mean, that's just, unfortunate and shocking. And hopefully, by people listening to this, whether hopefully there's actually physicians out here listening, and maybe some of them will say, hey, maybe it's not luck, maybe there's something to do, maybe we should look into these types of things. Let me ask you about, you still have focal seizures and some occasional grand mal seizures, what you're saying. How you sort of, or is there something you do, or can you tell what sets those off these days?
I'm pretty sure it's due to an insulin response or stress response. But most of the time they happen quite sporadically. So I can be washing the dishes and suddenly I'll get the sensation of a seizure coming. But over the course of 7 years, I've managed to gain like a sensitivity to what's happening. So say it's like a sensation, it's like a spike of fear running straight to my brain from like up my spine. It's like I've been spooked. So when I feel that sensation, I just relax my shoulders and I relax my jaw. I just relax. Basically, I go into relaxation. This is something I learned doing potato breathing. Because a lot of people, they don't realize that breathing through the mouth is it's basically hyperventilation. So I'm breathing through my nose. So I'm always kind of like increasing nitric oxide and carbon dioxide by diminishing my breathing. But I find that recently I've had to I'm on a new drug called Zebanex, which is helping. But I'm having an EEG to actually diagnose what's happening in my brain. So I'm taking that home for 24 hours. And hopefully I'll get a handle on what is occurring within my brain. Because I haven't actually been diagnosed as having a type of epilepsy. But yeah, it's usually a stress response. I don't really know what causes it. I mean, obviously it's the tumor.
See, I would use that to say that if it's by washing dishes, I'd use it to get out of washing dishes.
Yeah.
Say I can't do it because I wash. I was seizure. No, I'm kidding with that.
Yeah. Well, I like to. I'm always
you,
trying to push my boundaries. That's the thing. So it's like, like a year and a half ago, I wasn't doing anything. My partner was doing a lot of it for me. But I got sick of just sitting around, allowing people to look after me. I was like, I've got to do a bit more. Got to gain a bit more stamina and do things that make me uncomfortable. So yeah, a year ago, I would have used that excuse. I would have said, no, I'm not doing the dishes, you do it. But today I'm like, I can do it,
Let me, you had said calorie restricted diet, and then you said 2,000 calories. That's not really that calorie restricted from what I see a lot of people, some people doing 1,200 calorie, 800 calorie, 500 calorie diets within this ketogenic realm. So, I mean, like I said, I don't think, I mean, for me, 2,000 calories would be a pretty caloric restriction, but I'm a pretty big human being. But that's not that far from normal. So it's interesting that you got the response, even with a relatively decent amount of calories. I mean, most people could do 2,000 calories without too much struggle. Tell me about what the diet looks like in 2021. How much do you eat? When do you eat? How often?
I basically I go by my energy. So in the mornings I have like scrambled egg with loads of butter and bacon, and then around I always eat before 6 to kind of maximize my digestion time and my what's it called autophagy when I'm sleeping and resting, etc. But in the evening I will have maybe some minced beef or a steak, or it's just like one small portion of food, because I don't really need a lot to sustain me. From fasting, I get satiated quite easily. I've learned to get in touch of my ghrelin and my lectin kind of hormones. So when they, if I snack at any point, then the next day I'll be like, oh, I need to snack. But I just tell myself, no, I'm not going to do that today. But yeah, it's just when I've just ordered a sharing steak, a ribeye sharing steak, which I'm probably going to eat by myself. So yeah, it's just simple, easy foods, lots of fat.
I mean, you said you base it on energy levels, but are you consciously following a glucose ketone index? Are you measuring ketones? Are you?
I'm not measuring. I used to measure ketones quite religiously, but now I'm just. Last time I measured was maybe 3 weeks ago. And I'm not in like high levels of ketosis. I'm like at 0.5 mmO. So it's because like when I was on ketogenic, I was having loads of olive oil, loads of butter on every meal, and I was drinking the fat. I was also taking MCT oil. But nowadays I just eat until satiated and then I fast. But the ketones are there, so I'm still in ketosis. I'm just not looking for that 1-to-1 ratio anymore. As long as my glucose is around 4.
Yeah, and 4 is, you know, for you guys that are using US numbers, that's approximately just under 80. You know, I think it's like 70, 72 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I think it's used 18 times the amount when we're using the US units. You know, it's interesting, you know, with the ketogenic diet, I mean, we are seeing evolution, and maybe we won't even call it keto diet anymore, but you know, there was a period of time where people were consuming vast amounts of extra added fat, oils, drinking oils, eating butter, and chugging down heavy cream, and some of them were gaining weight, surprise, surprise. And now we're seeing that, hey, maybe just eat a natural food as it comes in its whole form with the fat that came with it. That might be the appropriate amount, and that's one of the reasons I'm, you know, kind of bullish on this carnivore diet. I think it's a very natural way to eat food, which I mean, it's very clear this is what humans did for most of our existence. This is how we got our fats. This is how we got our protein. By and large, I mean, yeah, there might have been occasional berry here and there. You know, I don't discount that, but I think, you know, rather than chewing on butter and drinking pressed oil, I mean, I just don't think we've done that. So, but anyway, but you know, again, this is not every human has a brain tumor either. So sometimes you have to do extraordinary things. There is, you know, like I said, Andrew Scarborough is another. He didn't have a GBM. He had astrocytoma, and there's other people that have had. I mean, there are some literature, particularly on Thomas Seyfried, can point to them. Are you aware of other people that have sort of, I guess, perhaps been inspired by your story, that have sort of taken this up? And can you point to any other successes outside of your own that are in the realm of brain?
Yeah, there's a woman called Amy. She was in the Beat Brain Tumors group of Misha's. She was inspired by me. She turned down standard of care, and she was having stable scan results, which I, you know, in the group, I basically told everyone, if you can get a stable scan result with a GBM, you're hitting the marker for survivability. Because if your tumor's not growing fast, then that is the best outcome, really, because GBMs tend to grow fast and they tend to kill quickly. Yeah, like out there, I don't know many people who don't. I mean, like me, they all unlike me. Sorry, they do standard of care alongside carnivore or ketogenic, and a lot of them can't be compliant. They tend to fall off the wagon more often than not, and then wonder why they're getting worse. You can't tell people what to do when they got GBM. They either want to enjoy life or continue living, and I think it's the guts to say, I need to be disciplined. I actually need to respect myself and work the hardest I can work to survive or die. It's life or death. But yeah, there's not many people that I'm in contact with who have done what I've done.
Yeah, and you know, this is this thing about compliance. You know, a lot of us sit here, and you know, many people in this community are doing a carnivore diet voluntarily. You know, for lesser things than a brain tumor, for sure. You know, some people it's just you know, and I don't want to minimize anybody else's issue, but I mean, when it is literally life and death, you still find people. I mean, I can remember as a surgeon, I mean, going to cut off someone's diabetic's leg, and they even in the face of cutting off their leg, and even after the leg's been cut off, they're still going to go right back to eating the same garbage that got them there in the first place. And so it is, I mean, this is a powerful, and I will go as far as to call it an addiction. I mean, this is a powerful addiction. And I think one of the problems with compliance is, you know, you have physicians that don't have any, you know, they're like, well, you're just lucky. I mean, maybe they, you know, if they said, hey, look, if they emphasize the importance of lifestyle to the degree that it could save your life or prolong your life or improve the quality of your life for many, many years, perhaps you might have some more compliance. And, you know, the other thing is, you know, scratching the surface on learning about this stuff, and then just having the systems in place, like this community here is one of the few support systems that people might have. And so we're like, one of my goals is to aggressively grow this so that more people have access to not only the knowledge but the support resource to be successful. Because like I said, I mean, odds are, had you not done what you had done, you would have been dead 6-7 years ago. You would be here. And so you would be sharing this message with the world. So thank you for doing it. Thank you for being a, kind of an astronaut. You're one of those guys that says, hey, I'm just gonna take a leap and see what happens. Now, it doesn't always work out for everybody. There's a lot of people that want to explore the world.
Well, one thing that actually is in my benefit is, like one of the fuels for a tumor is glutamine. But I have the IDH1 mutant gene, or whatever it is, in my tumor. So it's already blocking one of the fuel sources for my tumors. So in that respect, I have had the best kind of by cutting out glucose, I've done the best thing for my body, for my tumor. And I just shared the link. Sorry.
And this is, and I've had this discussion with Thomas Safer before. Last time I interviewed him, it's been a couple of years now. But I mean, glutamine was a real sort of quandary on what to do, because not only the body makes it, so it's hard to get away, but we make glucose too to bear. I mean, all of us know that we don't eat carbohydrates, we still make glucose. So glucose is never, neither will be glutamine. But certainly I can see where having that advantage with the type of different type of tumor is something that works in your favor for sure. Other than diet, because diet is, albeit an extremely important part about this, what other things have you incorporated to? I know Andrew Scar was talking about all the different things he does outside of just diet. What other things are you doing to sort of keep this thing at bay?
I mean, prior to going carnivore, I was taking all the supplements I could. Curcumin, boswellia, all these things. But I found that actually I felt like sluggish when I was taking them all. So actually Misha suggested that I just stop taking supplements, because you can get all your nutrition from the meat. And I've gone cold turkey on that. But I do wear my blue blockers in the evening time to increase melatonin. Apart from that, I don't really do a lot of exercise because of my epilepsy. I'm very sensitive, but I do have a what's called a cross trainer behind me, which I'm trying to use for longer periods to get the full body movement and increase my stamina. Apart from that, getting enough vitamin D from sunlight, and generally just trying to be not stressed, cutting out the stress in my life. So, yeah.
One of the things I'm going to say with regard to supplements, it's interesting because, we have, and I'm going to credit Siobhan Huggins for kind of alerting to me this concept. There's physiologic things we can manipulate. Like one would be, like let's look at metformin, or the supplement version, which is basically berberine. One of the mechanisms by which they act is to decrease what's called EGP, or endogenous glucose production. That's from the liver. That's liver generated glucose. And when you're trying to lower your glucose, you're like, well, that's a good thing. I'm going to knock my glucose production down. But what we're doing is we're metabolically poisoning the liver in order to get that outcome. And so the question is, are we actually doing more damage than good? You can make the same argument with alcohol, because I brought this up in the context of alcohol. Alcohol has been known to suppress glucose production. Does that mean drinking a bunch of alcohol is a good thing? And so this is the thing with the supplements. You may say, well, I can take a supplement and lower my blood glucose or raise my keto or something. But then it's like, what is a mechanism of action? And is it actually deleterious to, what it's doing to prevent response? Because our glucose is designed to produce, our liver is designed to produce glucose when we need it. And so when you knock that mechanism out through, injury, disease, or even perhaps supplementation, it's kind of like what we see with acid production. Our stomach is designed to produce acid, and yet we take medications to suppress that with, down the road negative effects. And so I wonder, and this is, you're probably familiar with, Jabba Toth and Jopia Clemens and the Paleomedicina group, and they've done research around this, and they are pretty much not supplement fans. I think they might do some IV vitamin D occasionally, and but I mean, generally they've been anti-supplements for maybe not the same reason, but for reason. I think their reasons are more to do with gut permeability issues. But so it's interesting, and I think some of these, some of the ones you pointed out, the curcumin and some of the others, they tend to be touted as anti-inflammatories. And, the question is, and this is the same thing I used to say with people coming in, and they want an anti-inflammatory medication like Tylenol, or not Tylenol, ibuprofen, or, one of these COX-2 inhibitors, Mobic or something like that. And I'm saying, well, maybe the question should be not, should I get an anti-inflammatory, but why am I inflamed in the first place? And if we start asking that question, then we might have a better answer. And then as the doctor says, well, you're unlucky. Unlucky, I guess, right? That's how scientific is that. Anyway, so with removing the supplements, have you noticed difference?
I feel cleaner in my, because we say before I sorted my life out when I was like 20, 21, I was taking like ecstasy and other things, and that rush you feel, that kind of dirty rush you feel from the high it gives you, the ecstatic feeling. Even though it feels good, it feels dirty. And I remember that feeling because when I was taking supplements, I would feel the same way, like there was too much in my blood, too much stuff going into me, but it had nowhere to go. So I was just pissing it out. So yeah, when I stopped taking supplements, I felt clean in my blood. I felt in my body, I felt less like things were rushing about trying to get somewhere, but nowhere to go. So I felt less dirty, so to say, which is weird. I mean, that's how I describe it, though.
Yeah, and I would imagine that you're saving money too. That's another important thing. Some of these supplements get pretty pricey. I mean, there's people who are spending hundreds of dollars a month on supplements. I mean, it's, when you think about it.
Yeah, I was having to rely on crowdfunding.
It's kind of changed. To pay for supplements, that's interesting.
So now I don't have to rely on people donating me money to pay for me getting all these treatments that aren't necessary, because I'm getting stable scan results anyway. So it's,
Yeah, and one of the things that I see people often sort of saying, well, isn't a meat-based diet expensive? And and these are the same people that are spending $100 a month in supplements or $200 a month in supplements in many cases. And so, yeah, I mean, I said this many times. I think supplements there's very few and far between supplements that have actually been worthwhile. And Kat thinks you spend $400 a month. Yeah, that's expensive. Women, you spend $500 a month. I mean, the supplement industry is huge. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a good reason for that. Most of them do not work. Yeah, most supplements do not work. I mean, they work to make the supplement manufacturer wealthy, but beyond that, they don't seem to do anything. But I'm interested with the exercise now. Because one of the concerns, you don't want to be seizing while you're out running or something like that. So, has exercise been a trigger for some seizures for you in the past?
It's to do with my breathing. So when I'm breathing heavily, I'm more likely to be stressed, and that is when the seizure will occur. Because I'm not aware, because I'm quite sensitive to my seizures, and I've kind of built a technique over time where I'm aware when a seizure happens, I can get a handle on it. But if I'm doing something quite physical, I can lose that handle, and then suddenly I'm there in a grand mal seizure. A little while ago, it was very hot. I was walking the dog, and I was walking quite fast because I was like, I can push myself. I've done this for the last week. I can push myself a bit. And then I had the pang of a seizure, and it almost turned into a grand mal. But I kind of just sat down wherever I was, and I just calmed myself and, relaxed. And I was very close to having a grand mal seizure with no one around in the middle of the countryside. And it's quite scary, but I kept calm. It's almost like PTSD kind of thing. It's like, it's like fighting a battle that I can't win. but I've got to. It's quite scary, to be honest. Like also my seizures changed after my awake craniotomy. So most in the last 6 months, I've been having grand mal seizures where I've been just hyperventilating, fully aware. So I don't lose consciousness. I'm just fully aware, hyperventilating for about 5 minutes. And then when I stop seizing, I find that I'm paralyzed on my left side. And that's the worst thing. It drags on and on. I'm like, I need the sweet release of loss of consciousness. And when it doesn't come, that's just breaks my heart, basically. I'm so used to it.
Yeah, I can imagine how distressing that might be or must be. Let me ask you about, obviously when you had, a debulking procedure on your brain, the tumor impacts some of the surrounding brain material, it kind of squishes and pushes the other brain material out of the way. If it's sometimes it grows and it gets into it and you can't really operate it out. But did you have any residual neurological deficits that are just chronic due to this? What part of the brain was it impacting?
It's the right parietal.
Okay, so that would kind of be in your language speech sort of area for you.
I'm finding that now, kind of after the awake craniotomy, I can't find words as easy as I used to. So I struggle with that, and when I speak for long periods of time, I find that my jaw starts to sag on the left, and I kind of mumble, which is. But I'm working on these things. I'm just like pushing myself to reconnect those bridges.
Yeah, Tina is in here asking about, have you ever thought about, where you've kind of evolved your diet from very aggressive ketogenic, low relative calorie restrict. We mentioned 2,000 calories a day, more food, a lot more fruits and berries to now strict meat. There's been a progression here. Are you feeling that you need to, would it make sense to go back to that calorie restricted ketogenic diet again for you, or are you pretty?
I'm carnivore for life now. I'm gonna if I do die, I'm gonna die with a steak in my hand.
Well, there's worse ways to die. I can certainly say that. That's the one thing. Even if the naysayers are true and it shortens your lifespan or whatever, hey man, we're eating some damn good food.
Look, the actual effect it's had on my family is that my mother, who was a vegetarian most of her life, when I went carnivore, she went carnivore to support me, and she did research herself and said, "Wow, this is going to make me feel a lot better in my body." She was menopausal, and now she doesn't feel that. She's maintained weight. She's got more energy. She actually looks younger. All these things, and she's like, from a hardcore vegetarian, is like, we can't kill animals because they got feelings, to this is actually better for my health. She fasts for longer periods than I do. She has 1 meal a day. My daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, if I ever have like a rack of lamb, she'll be like, whatever she's eating, she'll be like, I want that. So she grabs my pieces of rack of lamb and just starts tearing into it. So she'll grow up with the best of health.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was mentioning in the group the other day, my little 8-year-old son was just enamored with lamb. He had his first taste that he remembered. I think he'd had some when he was younger, but he had some for the hero. And then I went and made some lamb chops for the family that night, and they were just loving. And those are perfect size. They're like little mini tomahawk steaks for kids. They just pick them up by the bone and gnaw on them. They were having a lot. They were my whole family's on there gnawing on bones. It was a proud moment for me. So anyway, yeah, that's great. But let me ask you this question, because for anybody who's listening out there, there is a lot of pressure. Some say it's coming from the World Economic Forum. Some say it's coming from different people with different ideology, that we have to dramatically cut our meat consumption, and in some cases maybe completely eliminate it. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, I suspect I know, but let me just have you articulate, for somebody who's living and survived from a brain tumor using meat. What are your thoughts on?
I think it's propaganda to get us to live within the system, and the system is so flawed. And the food pyramid is just there to cause disease and create poverty, essentially, and mental deficiency in the masses. So all those people not eating the fat of animals are losing their intelligence. That's what I found, especially with my family and friends. Like, I don't actually speak to a lot of them because they're all going vegan for some reason. Somehow they're protecting the environment and the planet, and they're helping the ozone layer. But the farming industry is there's one side of it. There's sustainable agriculture where they let the land go wild, they let the animals graze, get the best food they can in them, and then the humans eat the meat, but we don't eat all the meat. It's all about sustainable grazing. Because my partner, her family are all farmers, and they live on Dartmoor, which is like a protected landscape. So they just let their cows roam, and we can occasionally get the meat from that. And that's the kind of farming that needs to be brought in all over the world. But big commercial agriculture is destroying it for everybody. They're the problem. Destroying the soil structure that creates a bigger problem. So yeah, it's all backwards, I think. I mean, people can eat what they want to do. They can have an opinion on food and what's better suited to them, because not everyone's going to do well on the carnivore diet. So that's some people's truth. But for me, I think it's madness. Blaming one thing for the climate, the global crisis of climate.
Yeah, I can, I'll use this opportunity to say that meat is not the driver of climate change. This is just absolute nuts. Even some of the really, I guess, big names within the climate change arena, the people that are pushing the hardest on this, guys like Michael Mann from the hockey stick, theory says, no, it isn't cows. This isn't the issue. If you're going to go after anything, it's the fossil fuels, and that would be the, transportation, energy, and industry sector. And, I think guys like Frank Mintlon, which we should be interviewing again in the near future, rightly point out that yes, agriculture has an environmental impact, but we have to eat. There's no way around that. And so you can't just not eat as human beings. But the impact is vastly overstated. It is, like I said, in developed countries, Western countries, United States, animal agriculture accounts for 4% of greenhouse gases. It's not zero, but 4% is not the major issue. And they are continuing, and plant agriculture is 5%. So if we're gonna start saying that, then we have to say, well, just don't eat anything. But yes, I mean, it's a very much more nuanced discussion and a longer discussion than that. But hopefully, enough people have enough common sense, and the people that will, that make the policies will be let known by the people that are not going to go down this crazy path to do that. Because we see that it's almost, we've had this pandemic of COVID-19, and now we've got this next pandemic crisis emergency of climate change, which will be equally as draconian, and perhaps, and we have to push back very hard against that stuff. Hopefully people will have the courage to do so, because I think it's I think you can, I don't care how I heat my home, quite honestly. I mean, if there's a better, more efficient way to heat my home, but I do care what I put in my body, and I don't think there's a more efficient way to do that comes out of that. So anyway, there's my little soapbox there. How's your, so you said you have 2 babies? That's pretty amazing.
Well,
I don't know how many GBM patients.
We got less than 2 weeks till this one's due. And
okay.
yeah,
don't want to jinx you. You're soon to have 2 babies.
Soon to have 2 babies.
There's probably not a lot of GBM people that have had, 2 children after diagnosis, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, it was something that I didn't think was going to happen. I put it on hold. I put like family on hold. It was I was ready before I got diagnosed to have children. I was like, I can think of the future. I've got a steady job. I'm getting a raise, all this stuff. Oh yeah, I rent a house, have a child, start a family, carry on from there. The human dream, to live the human dream. Then I got diagnosed, and I was like, no way is that going to happen. I've got to try and survive first. And then we got pregnant by accident. So
Well, they know how that happens. It's not really accidental. I mean, there's things you do that facilitate that. But
Yeah.
let me ask you. So you're 8 years or so.
As well
Post
as nearly
diagnosis, seven
7
and a
years.
half
7
years, whatever
years.
it is, post diagnosis. 7 years. Okay. So you've obviously beaten the odds. I mean, there's a good chance that you may live to a ripe old age. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. What is the plan for you at this point? I mean, what are you striving to do? I mean, obviously it sounds like you want to improve function. Are you wanting to, you know, have a career? I mean, what is your goal at this point?
What I want to do is because like from the onset, I started writing a Facebook blog, Pablo's Journey for a Brain Tumor, just to get my shit into the air and let go of all my baggage. Because if I was going to die, I wanted there to be some sort of like memory of me. But since like I started doing that, because like I'm writing quite well, I'm just literally writing my heart out. And people are going, "Oh yeah, that's really nice. I like what he's talking about because it's just like raw emotion." So like it's over the course of time, I got 2,000 followers on Facebook, and everyone's asking me these questions. You know, what have you? Can you give me your answers for my brain tumor? Can you help my family member? So I'm actually creating a website where people can book like conversations with me, where I can inspire them to basically take a little bit of control in their own health when they're diagnosed. Because many people just go, the doctor told me this, that's all there is I can do. But I've got some answers. You know, I'm a long-term survivor. I've also got the mindset that I can impart on them. And if they listen, they listen. But if they don't, they don't. So basically, I just want to help people take responsibility for their health, because most people, they're not willing to do that. You know, they'll ask the questions, but then they go, what can I do really? I've got a brain tumor. It's going to kill me eventually. So what's the point? And I say to them, well, the point is that you've got a life. And if you want to live it, you need to take some control of it. You need to respect yourself. So I'm also writing my book, which is going to take a while, but I'm going to write it. I've got 49 pages of my story in the hopes that I can get it across the world and just inspire people to look after themselves, even if they don't have a brain tumor, because it's all important. People in this, you know, like coronavirus has fucked people up. Pardon my language, but you know, the whole world has gone crazy with fear, when they should be just starting, you know, to love each other and like gaining more respect for each other, because we're all human. We all feel the same way. Yet people think we're all different, and it's not true.
Let me ask you about, has somebody written your story up in a
Yeah, no, I
education form
shared
in a
it a little
medical
while
journal?
ago. It's going to be published in the next like 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, who wrote that up? Just out of
It's
curiosity.
Thomas Seyfried, quite a lot of people. Miriam Killian,
Okay.
quite a few people. Yeah.
Yeah, I should probably reach back out to Dr. Seyfried and see what he's up to lately, to see how
I
he
just
is.
posted it again, so it's there.
Okay. Awesome. So that'll come out very soon. That's
Oh no,
that's
it's
great.
already
So I'm
up.
sure a lot of people will be interested.
I mean, it's already up.
Oh, it's already been published.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome.
That's the full article.
We'll have to link to that. Awesome. I'll have to read that study there. Yeah, that's quite amazing.
So hopefully the medical field will start looking at it a bit more, because it's actually like you know, scientific data.
Was the title of the article "He Just Got Lucky"? Was that the title of the article?
No. It's called Hard Work and Perseverance.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunately that's often the answer is hard work and perseverance. I often have people telling me, genetics and blah blah blah. I can tell you, there's been a lot of work that I've put in over the years to achieve what I've been able to achieve. But I mean, it's really refreshing to see your story and see you having that success. And hopefully, like I said, I guess I'm internally optimistic, even though I I understand human nature, but I think that, ultimately in the end, hard work and doing the right thing ultimately will pay off. And I think you're one of the guys doing that, and hopefully we have more folks that are doing that. I unfortunately have to run and go do a consultation myself here in just a minute, but could you give us, a rundown on your social media, where, if you've got a website, where people can go to find you, just for those people who want
Yeah,
to
no, I'll
contact you
type it in
and
here.
get more
It's
information
on
from you?
Facebook. I've got the blog, which is called Pablo's Journey Through a Brain Tumor. Because I was like, I titled it that because when I was thinking about it, I want to get past this brain tumor. I want to live. So that's why I did that. I'm also on Twitter, just Pablo Kelly, 88. I've got a website that's being built, but it's not built yet, so I can post that another day. But yeah.
Well, Pablo, awesome. I'd like to, maybe check back with you in another year or two to see how you're doing. I'm sure you'll still be doing well and continue to progress. I have a feeling that's going to happen. So great for you. Congrats on the upcoming new baby. Is it a baby boy or girl, or yet?
Nope. Surprise.
No idea. So baby surprise. All right. Well, awesome. It'll be fun. So you'll have a true gender reveal party when the baby's born. All right, that's great. Okay, guys, you guys have a great day, and we'll see a lot of you guys back tomorrow. Take care now. Thanks, Pablo.
Right.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for having me.